Welcome to CarComparos. Today we'll be comparing the Hyundai Creta versus the Mahindra Scorpio. Pricing and features. The range-topping Creta SXO costs 17 lakh rupees on road Delhi, which is around 1 lakh rupees more expensive than Scorpio's S10 two-wheel drive manual variant costing 15.9 lakh rupees. Creta SXO has a couple of extra features over the Scorpio S10 like side and curtain airbags, parking camera, push-button start and smart key, and electrically folding mirrors. The Scorpio S10 only has one extra feature over the Creta, which is the tire pressure monitoring system. Fuel efficiency. The Creta diesel manual has an ARAI certified mileage of 19.7 kmpl, which is 4.3 kmpl more efficient than the manual Scorpio, having a fuel efficiency of 15.4 kmpl. The Creta diesel automatic returns an efficiency of 17 kmpl, which is 3.4 kmpl more than the Scorpio automatic. In our back-to-back tests, both the manual as well as the automatic Cretas were over 3 kmpl more efficient than the corresponding Scorpios. In fact, even the petrol Creta, having an ARAI certified mileage of 15.3 kmpl, was just as efficient as the diesel-powered Scorpio in our back-to-back tests. Reliability and after-sales service. Hyundai has built up a remarkable reputation for after-sales service in the Indian market over the past 2 decades. Mahindra, on the other hand, has been competing only in the utility vehicle market, where it had little competition from Tata and had come out on top amongst its competitors in this segment. But it still has a long way to go to even get close to the levels of product reliability and service support provided by Hyundai. On top of that, Mahindra has had a history of quality and reliability issues in all its products, which does not bode well for Scorpio customers. Mahindra's service reach with its 400 odd touchpoints is still not as widespread as Hyundai's 800 dealerships. However, it holds a special advantage in terms of reach to smaller villages thanks to the rural penetration of its tractor network. Resale and cost of ownership. Scorpios from the 2009-2011 period continue to hold fantastic resale value in the used car market, selling for around 7 lakh rupees today. Cretas, being more reliable and more efficient than Scorpios, are bound to hold even better residual value after 5 years. Overall, expect the diesel Creta to fetch at least 1 lakh rupees more than the Scorpio, and petrol Creta to fetch the same resale price as the Scorpio when you decide to part ways with it. Thanks to lower fuel cost and better resale value, both the manual geared Cretas work out to be 1 lakh rupees lighter on the pocket than the equivalent Scorpio. Interestingly, you can save yourself the pain of Scorpio's heavy clutch and recalcitrant gearbox and go for the unmatched convenience of an automatic Creta for exactly the same ownership cost. Performance and drivability. The Scorpio has a 600cc larger engine than the Creta. However, it also weighs over 500 kilograms more than the Creta. This gives the Creta a whopping 50% higher power-to-weight ratio than the Scorpio, and thus considerably better performance across the rev range. Scorpio claws back some lost ground with better drivability around city streets, but then you always have the option of making your city commutes even more fatigue-free by opting for the diesel automatic Creta, which costs exactly the same as the manual Scorpio in the long run. Creta also trumps the Scorpio in terms of refinement, although the Scorpio itself is a reasonably smooth and silent machine. Space and comfort. Even though the Creta is significantly smaller than the Scorpio, it is actually a more comfortable place for the occupants. Creta's seats are a touch more supportive and comfier than Scorpio's unexpectedly flat and unsupportive units. Scorpio's third row is a complete disaster. It is extremely cramped and suffers from excruciating ride quality. The only advantage that the Scorpio has over the Creta is that if you get rid of the third row, it liberates a humongous boot space. Although Creta's 407 liters of boot capacity is more than adequate for most occasions. Handling and ride quality. The Creta very rarely comes out on top in comparisons when it comes to dynamics. This is one of those rare occasions. The Scorpio has a back-breaking ride quality and transfers the impact from the bumps and ruts straight to the occupants. The Creta fares much better. Even though it crashes uncomfortably over the bumps, it absorbs most of the impact, providing decent isolation to the occupants. Scorpio's high-speed composure and composure under hard braking is downright scary. Creta, on the other hand, exhibits much better stability at speeds. Scorpio rolls like a boat around the bends, and it is downright foolish to push it around the corners. Creta also hates the corners. It suffers from understeer and has no steering feel or feedback to speak of, but at least it is much safer and composed than a Scorpio around the turns. That brings us to the verdict. The Creta is the clear winner of this test, and that too by a big margin. Gone are the days of lumbering around city streets in 2-ton steel boxes. Ladder frame based SUVs were a logical anomaly of the Indian market. Only 500 people really needed them, but 5,000 ended up buying them every month. They are lucky to have even survived as mainstream choices for so long. Monocoque SUVs, on the other hand, were a latent need of the market, thanks to our potholes, which sometimes have roads in between them. We are not sure if it was the risk aversion or plain laziness that prevented the multinational automakers from launching cars with higher ground clearance and big wheels for so long in our market. Perhaps India was too low on their priority list and the total market itself was quite small. But now, with the advent of compact SUVs, that need has finally been addressed. Indian car buyers' newfound obsession with small SUVs is not at all a surprise. This revolution has been waiting to happen for a long time.